What are you fighting for? That's really the critical question whenever you decide to go back to court or basically fight with your ex. And that is, what is the fundamental important thing that you're fighting for? And it's super critical that you document that, or you write it down, or you do something so that you remember. Because one thing that's inevitable with these folks is that they don't just roll over. I know in my situation that's what's happened, and from pretty much everybody that's talked to me through this channel and people I've known personally, they don't roll over, they fight, right? So even if you think that you have them cornered and you have a clear-cut, slam dunk shut case, you need to expect and anticipate that they are going to do everything in their power, ethically, unethically, whatever they can to prove that you're wrong and to win the case. So it's critical that you know what you're fighting for. You know what you're wanting to get, because when this other stuff happens, it's going to make you incredibly angry, and then you're going to want to basically get back at them. And I fell into this same trap. So I mean, I'm not trying to pass judgment on you or anything. I just want you to think about this, because it's an easy trap that we fall into, and we get sucked into the crazy of what is going on with this stuff. So in my story, all I really wanted was her not to leave the state and to get 50-50 with the kids, and to get the numbers more, the child support and alimony more reasonable. It's still a lot, but I mean, just to a more fair, quote unquote, level. And that was my going in position, right? It's like, okay, as long as I get 50-50 and we both can co-parent and we can, work together and all this stuff, then, and that really wasn't my goal. My goal was the 50-50, not leave the state. But here's what happened in my situation. As it progressed, once the smear campaigns and the attacks and all the stuff started, it dredged up so much past anger and hurt and resentment that I got angry, right? I got more angry, and I wanted a crushing victory. I wanted to basically just to win everything and to basically shove it in her face that she lost, right? And the problem with that, as soon as you start to go down that path and you lose sight of what the real victory is, even if you win, you won't feel like you won. And that's pretty much what happened in my situation. Whenever we finally got to the point that we basically settled, because it was just, lack of money and the way everything was going out, that was the best, the safest course of action. And sometimes you'll notice that your ex will try to settle in some of this because they think that they're losing, and they think that if they can get you to settle, then some of the damage that could happen to them will be mitigated. Now, the problem in those situations is you have a choice, right? You can choose to continue to fight to drive your case home. The problem is, and like I said before, is just keep in mind that they don't just go quietly into the night. They don't give up. They will continue to fight. They will continue to push. They will continue to try to paint you as a monster, or inflate things to make it look like your story isn't as solid as you think it is. And they are masters at that. Now I'm not saying that if you think you need to fight, to not fight. Fight if you need to fight. I mean, I think a lot of us have to get into that point to where we do that, because if you don't, then you feel like they're winning everything. But here's the thing. Remember what you really wanted. And here's the problem. When everything was said and done, and it was over, and I will tell you, I did feel like, okay, like a breath of fresh air. But as soon as the extra shenanigans started, it didn't feel like a victory, right? I lost sight of what I had, quote unquote, won, and what my going in position was, and I got wrapped into the chaos of the situation. Now, in my situation, I ran out of money, so I didn't have the funds to go back and fight for the co-parenting not being followed, and the sharing of information, and all the other crap that was going on. And to be perfectly honest, if I would have had the money, I absolutely would have done it. I don't know, I mean, maybe if I would have had the resources to do it, I would have been able to establish those boundaries, more firmly in the beginning, and to change things, but you're talking about a significant amount of money. I mean, probably it would have cost me another $20,000 to $40,000 to do that. And I don't, I mean, I'm still digging myself out of the hole from the divorce and then the subsequent court battle on the retirement account. So, I mean, there's realistic expectations, right? And that's really the important part, is having those realistic expectations of what is going on, right? What you think you can win and what you have a strong case for. If you're in a situation where you're being denied visitation and your ex won't allow you to see your kids because they're making up some slanderous story, then in that situation, you really don't have any other choice but to fight. Now, the problem is, like I just said, is you're probably going to get sucked into it where you're going to get so angry about everything that you're having to go through that you're going to want to have a crushing victory. And, sometimes we get those. There have been some people who had those. And, and that is great when it happens. But there's also times to where you still win. You get what you originally wanted. You get things basically back on track, but maybe the court order's not worded the way you like, or maybe you've been run through the ringer so much that you want a more impactful victory. And what I'm recommending you do is look at what your original goal was. I mean, in my situation, I can give you a couple examples. When I first went to court, she was pushing for 80-20. I could be a weekend dad. That was sufficient in her mind. And I obviously wanted 50-50. When we walked out of court on that first day for the temporary orders, I think that's what they call them, I had, I think it was 70-30. I think that's what the timeshare was. And the judge was basically positioning it to like, okay, well, mom is saying that you're a monster and that, you can't handle it. So, and she's been the primary caregiver. Okay, so I won't give you 50-50 right off the bat, but what I will do is I'll let you have more time so you can prove to the court that you can do it, right? So I walked out of there like nobody really won. It really didn't give me what I needed. Well, it gave me more, which was good. But, in my mind going in there, I'm like, I needed 50-50 right off the bat just to stop this and get it to, get her to back off and to save us a ton of money. And it didn't happen, right? So it took a few more months to go through a custody evaluation and all the stuff to go through that and back and forth with, not depositions, but all the disclosures and the attorney meetings to finally come up to a situation to where we could actually agree on something. The custody evaluation played a really big part in that, because obviously she was trying to say that I was, a monster and a danger to the kids, and the kids were scared and didn't want to be around me, and that didn't, that's not what came out of that. And 50-50 was recommended out of it, so that's where we ended up. But my point is that when you're caught in these things, you need to remember what your victory point is. And I would really encourage you to write that down in the beginning, because you're going to have, like at work, we'll call things like requirement creep, right? You start out with this is what the box is supposed to be. It's supposed to be like this. And as it goes, it keeps expanding and you lose sight of what that original thing is. That original thing is really important because that really ties in with your victory. And what I would tell you is more than likely, even with the chaos that your ex is going to try to put into this whole situation, and you're basically going to want, your initial victory was this, now you want a victory like this. If you can remember that your initial victory was this, is that when you win, because you'll probably more than likely win this, then you can feel okay about it, because they're going to think that they won, because they're going to think that it's grown and that you wanted more and you didn't get that, so they won. Remember, you're dealing with somebody who enjoys the chaos, who thrives in the chaos, whose victory isn't necessarily winning, it's getting you to engage and getting you all stressed out and flustered and getting that reaction. It's really tough, because when you're fighting somebody like that, it's not a real, you're not dealing with somebody who is approaching it normally. They have a different perspective. And one final story I'll throw out there before I go on this is, whenever I sued my ex for small claims court for the medical stuff, I wanted to get paid. I wanted to get some money out of it, or get her to pay me a dime or something, but that really wasn't the victory. The victory was to set a boundary, to establish that I wanted her to basically say that she was going to follow the court order that she had already basically was ordered to follow, and to have documentation so that if it happened again, I'd be able to have something to fall back on. Fortunately for her, her version of victory was paying me. So she wanted to not have to, either she wanted, actually, she was trying to settle it because she was trying to say, well, you owe me money, or I owed her money, and that she didn't want it, she just wanted to settle. So her thing was not paying me. So whenever it finished, she felt good about it because she didn't have to pay me, and I felt good about it because I got the other thing. Now, I incorrectly played that a little bit because I wanted to make sure that she didn't feel like she won. So I was, when we settled on that, I was like acting like super happy and like, man, this was the greatest thing ever, right? You know, and probably in retrospect, that wasn't the smartest move on my part because I was still not really understanding what I was dealing with, and I was just fighting back because I was tired of getting those bills, but that's a different story. So on that, as I wrap this up, just remember what you're really going for. Have those realistic expectations and just recognize that they are not going to just back off and let you win. When you back them into a corner, they are going to come out and attack, and they will come up with whatever in the world they can come up with to try to justify their point. If you can go in recognizing that, then as this thing runs on and takes longer and gets uglier, and you get more angry, and then you want more, you want to basically hold them more accountable. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But if you can keep sight on what your victory point is, what you're really trying to get, then once it's all done, you'll probably feel a lot better about how the outcome of it is. Unfortunately, they can trigger you a lot. You need, like I said before, you need to anticipate that because that's going to be an issue. And, you know, it's just pick your battles wisely. I mean, really think about what you want to fight for and whether it's really worth it. And we can talk more about that. I probably should make another video to cover some specifics on this, and I'll work on that coming up. If you guys have some questions or want some clarification, put that in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like the channel, please subscribe. And if you haven't gone over to the Dad Surviving Divorce website and signed up for the newsletter, please do that. And I will chat with you guys in the next video. So, all right, take care. Bye.